Welcome to Belts, Bumps, and Barbed Wire, a podcast brought to you by DMV Wrestling News at dmwrestlingnews.com. I'm your host, Jeff Quinton, and I'll be interviewing guests from the world of professional wrestling from the Mid-Atlantic region and beyond. Thanks for joining us. Hi, I'm Jeff Quinton, your host. I'm talking to Wrecking Ball Legursky, a wrestler for the National Wrestling Alliance, and we are discussing his career and previewing the NWA on tour stops in New York on September 27th and 28th. Hi, Wrecking Ball. How are you tonight?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing? I just had a turkey, ground turkey quesadilla that was pretty good for dinner.
I'm waiting on dinner's probably going to be tacos, but right now I'm just drinking a Liquid Death spring mountain water.
Hell yeah.
Okay, we'll start out talking about your early career and what led you to pursue professional wrestling.
I always wanted to wrestle growing up. It was something I watched through elementary school, middle school, high school, college. I played football in college for Division II Southern Connecticut State. And once I was finished with football, there was a training school in New Haven at the time. New Haven, which is where Southern is. I trained there for a couple years. Then I trained with Matt Taven and Mike Bennett, who are in AEW right now. They're in Ring of Honor. They were in Impact before, and then I trained with Bubba Ray Dudley for a year and a half, 2 years as well.
That lets me take a tangent for a second. Is New Haven pizza as good as everybody says it is?
Oh yeah, it's delicious. It's not for everyone. I am not picky with my pizza. I like New Haven pizza. I like New York pizza. I like New Jersey pizza. I like Little Caesars. I like Papa John's. I like Pizza Hut. But I like it. It's New Haven style is generally my preference. They usually cook it in a brick oven, and it's purposely cooked, like slightly well done. And that's off-putting for a lot of people, but it actually tastes really good.
Had some coal-fired pizza because my wife likes things coal-fired because her family is from Pennsylvania, from coal country, and she had toast that was cooked on a coal oven as a kid when she was visiting her grandparents. So I've had that and I like it. And I think I'd like New Haven. I know there are a couple of franchised locations for one of the New Haven pizza places down around DC, but I haven't gotten to them yet. So I really want to go to the source anyway. It's kind of like going to Permane Brothers in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. It just wasn't the same as going to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, no, totally get it. And that is, I mean, I don't know for sure. It's probably Pepe's is the one that's either Pepe's or Sally's. There's one, New Haven, and then like a half hour away from us is in Waterbury, and the Waterbury one isn't, the same thing as the New Haven location. So I feel like the DC one being a little further out is probably a lot different.
I would guess so. It's kind of like the bagel places in Florida, and all the people from New York moved to Florida to complain that the bagels are not the same. There's actually somebody that invented a machine that could actually make the water the same as New York water, and supposedly the same, but I've heard that was pretty much a scam from what I read about it.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it. That's what they say about the pizza too, is it's the water, and like I don't know if it can make that much of a difference. They say the same thing about New York pizza, New Haven pizza. It's just the water is different. I heard from the Waterbury location that they actually of Pepe's, again, that's like one of the famous New Haven ones. For the Waterbury location, they like ship over like water from New Haven, which to me just sounds ridiculous, but hey. Something's obviously working.
Moving on to the next question. Who were your wrestling idols growing up, and how did they influence your style and persona?
Growing up, I was a big fan of, Stone Cold and Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels was actually my first favorite wrestler growing up. They actually, Stone Cold, more of attitude wise, is more of an influence, but um, you know, I ended up being more influenced by, like Bam Bam Bigelow, Vader, Mark Henry, and I watched them more as I was, wanting to become a wrestler and training to become a wrestler. I wasn't necessarily as big of fans of those guys growing up, but as soon as I knew like I wanted to do it and what I looked like, and I had to find people who I was, looked like or built like or whatever. So, I also, looking back, I like Hacksaw Jim Duggan. When I'm a babyface, I take a lot of stuff from Hacksaw, like a lot of body language from Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Take a lot of moves from Bam Bam Bigelow. Take moves from Vader. Take moves from Mark Henry. And, just kind of add my own flavor and add my own personality into it.
I know I saw a post somewhere after Sid Vicious died, somebody saying that Bam Bam, like Sid, was somebody that needed to be in the Hall of Fame that isn't.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, Bam Bam's on it, you said, right?
Right.
Yeah, year after, I feel like for some reason I thought he finally got in, but it's just like year after year, everyone wants him to be, and he's not. It's absolutely wild. One of the all-time greats.
Yeah, I think the three big ones that need to be that aren't are him, Sid, and Ivan Koloff.
Oh, absolutely. Especially Sid.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he's iconic.
Maybe now we're getting out of some of, with the new regime at the WWE, we're getting out of so much of the politics being behind it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that all three of those guys are in this coming year, especially for me, Bam Bam and Sid.
I'm going to talk about your wrestling style and your training now. How do you maintain your agility with your size?
I do a lot of cardio. I do a lot of like plyometric set stuff. I do a lot of kettlebell training and stuff. Um, I'll use at my gym we have a weighted sled. I do that. I do sprints. I do explosive jumps. I do you know uh, I do jumps. I do box jumps. I do some squats, leg press. I work out. I do a lot of working out. I do a lot of stretching. As I've gotten older, not to say that I'm old, but like as I'm starting, to get some years on me, I'm 35. I do a lot of stretching. I do a lot of foam rolling. I do a lot of warming up. But um, you know, most like at least a third of my workout is warming up, muscle activation, foam rolling, stretching, using the kettlebell. Um, I do tire flips too for explosion. That definitely helps a lot.
What was it like training under Bubba Ray Dudley?
It was great. There's a lot of stuff that um, that's still helpful and relevant to me, just based off of using my size to the most, learning how to structure a match, just basic psychology, uh, just basic ring positioning, um, placement of moves during a match. It was great. There's still some stuff when I'm putting a match together that I still think back, I still refer back to, and it makes sense.
I know I like listening to Busted Open when he's on it because he really has a good sense for the business inside the ring and outside of the ring of what should happen and what people are doing wrong. I know he hasn't made any friends in AEW lately with some of his criticism, but they're valid. I mean, people need to take the constructive criticism from someone like him who knows what they're doing and go with it and try to find something else that works better because he actually knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, he definitely knows what he's talking about. I mean, sometimes it's hard to, some people react more so to him as a person as opposed to what he's saying or like how they feel like he's saying something, but he's just straight up honest, blunt, and to the point, and some people can't handle that. Um,
Could you talk about some of the more memorable matches you've had and who your memorable opponents were?
yeah, one of them was with the Fixers. We beat the OGK. the Kingdom, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett. That was a big one. Um, just recently, I wrestled Jinder Mahal. Um, I also wrestled Powerhouse Hobbs for Northeast Wrestling at the Mid Hudson Civic Center. I wrestled him when he was the AEW TNT champion. I've had a lot of wars with Danny Moff. He was big. He was like a Ring of Honor OG. I had a couple. I had a match with. It was me, Jay, my partner from the Fixers, and Colby Carino versus Kerry Morton, Ricky Morton, and Homicide. Ricky Morton did a suicide dive onto me, which was pretty crazy.
That sounds like pretty crazy for him doing a suicide dive.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just a lot of different moments, a lot of different memories. Every time I go to, I wrestle Dan Moff. It's always a war. We have a lot of wars at Northeast Wrestling. Uh,
His name, along with yours, are ones that come up a lot when I'm writing previews for different events during the week.
yeah, no, he's a Ring of Honor OG. He's a badass, and he's still he's still going strong. Um, I yeah, we had Fixers had a good match, really good match with the OGK, so it was special beating them because Taven and Bennett had a part in my training. Uh, you know, wrestled Taven one on one for NWA as well, which was great. And winning the NWA United States Tag Team titles at NWA was either 70, it was NWA 74 or 75. I'm so bad with the numbers. I was in St. Louis when we won the Battle Royal to win the United States Tag Team titles.
I know. I think I saw that Battle Royal one in St. Louis. I don't remember. I'm not good with the numbers on which events they were either, so I don't remember which one I watched in St. Louis.
Yeah, no, that was special. That was, my first title with a major uh, television organization. So that was very special.
Then how do you think the Fixers fit into the NWA tag title picture now?
I think we could definitely take the tag team titles. We've been we've kind of been a little bit on a losing streak. We haven't been winning as much as we had when we first came onto the scene, but it any given day we're just as good as every one of the tag team titles. I mean, we're literally the biggest tag team in pro wrestling combined. Hey, there's a guy here that might be taller, or there might be one guy that might be heavier, but combined, we're the heaviest or the biggest tag team in professional wrestling. And once we get going, once we get the momentum, once we get the steam rolling, it's gonna be, it's gonna be tough to stop us. So we just gotta, once we get going, it's gonna be tough to stop us. So, whether it's blunt force trauma, whether it's Knox and Murdoch, um, whether it's Odinson and Kratos, we're capable of beating every single one of those tag teams there, no matter who the champion is. We could beat them. We're bigger than all of them, we're badder than all of them, and we're stronger than all of them.
So a follow-up question related to the size thing that you said. You've lost a lot of weight recently, haven't you?
Yeah, I dropped about 45 pounds. Um, it's just about making a little bit better food choices. I've always worked out. I've always worked out hard. I never missed the gym. I never slacked on doing cardio or anything. It's just about, making better food choices more often. Not to say that I eat perfect by any means, because I don't. but I just try to eat a lot of protein and uh, you know just make better choices when I can. I'm still gonna have my pizza once a week, but it's eating pizza once a week and compared to 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah, food choices were my biggest thing. My last job was a really physically intense job working on the ramp for an airline. And I just wanted to make sure that I could physically handle the job. I ended up losing 30 pounds while I was working there. But give a shout out to the wrestlers that have helped me with my training, Dustin Tar and Ray Castro. Dustin really helped me get on some plans for some supplements and told me to load up on protein. And I just was using my powder protein before work in the morning, taking my supplements, and then protein bars. A typical lunch for me at work would be like boiled eggs, tuna salad, and any other kind of protein I could mix in with it. So I understand where you are there, but still, I got to have my days that I eat something that's not good at all for you. So
Yeah, you gotta live life. Yeah, no, absolutely.
you talked about the NWA tag title picture. Just talk to me about how you're feeling going into the two NWA tour stops on the 27th in Queens and on 28th in Huntington Station.
I'm absolutely amped. Obviously we had NWA 76, which was in Philly, which was a huge success. No spoilers, but you know, it's not very often, the NWA is in the Northeast. I feel like a lot of times I'm at a disadvantage compared to a lot of the other people are from down south. They have quick drives, or they're more known down south. They got more of a base down south, and I always feel like I'm going into hostile territory. Now I get to drive to the show, and now I have home field advantage, and now they're coming into my hostile territory. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good to see and hear the Northeast fans at the NWA in Queens and Long Island.
I grew up in the South, so I'm familiar with some of the names from when they're second generation people like Kerry Morton. And I watched Ricky wrestle growing up as a kid, so that's my perspective for it too. And I was reading something before NWA 76 in Philly where we had a great talk before the show, and I was reading that it was the first major NWA event in Philly since 1998.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's been a while since we've been there, so it was good to go up there, kick some ass, and sell out the ECW arena.
Are you going to be wrestling at Riot Fest in Chicago?
I am not going to be at Riot Fest, but if you're in the area, you should definitely go and check it out. It's going to be a huge show. I got prior commitments that Friday and Saturday.
Have you made any of the musical shows that have had wrestling matches at them in the past couple of years?
Unfortunately, I haven't. They look like a pretty cool experience. I would love to do one of them, but just the opportunities haven't lined up yet.
It looks like it would be. I know I've had a friend of mine who's a big Smashing Pumpkins fan who's told me about it, and that's how he knows NWA wrestlers, because he's not really a wrestling fan. He just knows names from when he sees them at pumpkin shows. So
Yeah, no, it's a great gateway to people who might not watch wrestling, or people who watch wrestling who aren't acquainted with the NWA yet.
it's an education process because there are a lot of people who know nothing but the casual fans. A lot of them don't know anything but WWE. They don't know AEW and definitely don't know indies. So you've got to get them educated on there's other options out there. I know I got back into wrestling. I don't know if you read what I wrote before NWA 76, but I totally stopped watching it.
Yeah, you said it reignited your passion for wrestling, right?
Yeah, and from there I just started going to indie shows, and then it's just snowballed from there. So I really think that the NWA has recovered a lot since COVID, because COVID was a big impediment to everybody doing any kind of business, and especially in the wrestling business. So I just think that it's getting back there with the CW deal for Power and for Carneyland, and I just think it could be a bigger company moving forward the way things look right now.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, we are attendance wise doing the best we've done. ever since the Lightning One era. Even we had to rebuild after COVID. I was part of that rebuilding process. I wasn't there pre-COVID. I was part of the rebuilding process. Because NWA built like a huge buzz right before COVID. Then COVID ended it, so we had to rebuild. Now, like you said, we have the CW deal, and we're selling out arenas and drawing big numbers at arenas wherever we go, and we just keep building momentum. Um, it's building momentum being at Smashing Pumpkins concerts. It's building momentum being at Riot Fest. It's building momentum selling out the ECW arena. It's building momentum doing really well in Dothan, Alabama, and a place where the UFC and WWE has ran. So it's building momentum.
Can you talk to me about what it's like to go to a typical power taping?
Um, it's a long day. Usually got to get there 11 or 12, find out what the matches are, um, and then you got to get ready. You got to warm up. You got to see what's going on. We get catering. We get usually Chipotle for lunch, and then some kind of chicken for dinner, and then um, it's usually a grueling process because like if it's a normal power taping, the we film quite a few matches because we generally have to cover like a month or several months of taping. So it's long, tough, but fun and exciting days, and very very rewarding. I love the competition of wrestling, and then love hanging out with my friends like Jay, my partner, my tag partner, and backstage.
Back in the YouTube era with the studio wrestling at Georgia Public Broadcasting, I could tell they were filming a bunch of different days at one time because you would see fans sitting in the same places in the same clothes, like Sandoval would be one. I know that's probably one most people would know. And then there was one guy in a Clemson shirt that I always recognized because I'm a Clemson fan, so I knew he was going to be there. So I could tell that they had taped those episodes on the same day.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a lot of taping at once. Not as much lately. You might have to wrestle multiple times on the same day, and it's a lot for the fans, but they love it and they stay enthusiastic throughout the day or days, depending how many days we tape, and it's a great experience. The wrestlers stay enthusiastic, fans stay enthusiastic, and yeah, it's great.
It was like that at NWA 76. I mean, the fans were just enthusiastic. Hardly anybody was leaving until the very end because the main event was one everybody wanted to see.
Yeah, and that's how you got to build it. You got to build it to where people want to stay, and obviously that was a situation where people wanted to stay.
Do you have any plans for Samhain 2 in Sarasota?
Uh, right now, we are going to be there. So it's going to be at the legendary Robards Arena. So we got before that we have so obviously Queens and Long Island. Jay's not going to be there. Then October 5th and 6th, we're going to be in Tampa for a set of power tapings, and then um, yeah, October 26th is the Robarts Arena in Sarasota, and all those tapings, I just plan on kicking ass, dominating people, beating people down, and yelling "Wrecking Ball" and "Fixers Rule" the entire night.
So when did you get the nickname Wrecking Ball?
uh, I came up with that once I started training. A lot of times people go through a million different nicknames. Before million different nicknames, a million different characters, and before they figure it out. I mean, I've had different evolutions of the character, and with slight nuances, but I, I came up with that name, once I started training, pretty soon into it, like 3 months of training. It's like I'm big, I'm strong, I'm aggressive, and I break shit. So Wrecking Ball made perfect sense.
When I first saw you, I thought the nickname made sense. So
Yeah, and I think this goes for like a general wrestling thing. I think everything I do makes sense, and I think that's what's missing in a lot of wrestling. Like when I say my wrestling name is Wrecking Ball Legursky, I am exactly what you would picture if you didn't see me before and I said my name was Wrecking Ball Legursky. I'm exactly what you would picture someone who's named Wrecking Ball Legursky. I look like a Wrecking Ball Legursky. I walk like a Wrecking Ball Legursky. I talk like a Wrecking Ball Legursky. I wrestle like a Wrecking Ball Legursky. My music is something that Wrecking Ball Legursky would come out to, so everything I do makes sense. It's easily digestible. There's no, I don't get what's going on with him. Like everything's straightforward and makes sense. As soon as you hear my name,
no crazy or outlandish spots, just run people over.
exactly.
That reminds me a lot of the first person I interviewed on this podcast who now wrestles for the NWA, and he just started back at the time, was last year with Spencer Slade.
Yeah, he's very straightforward.
That's the style that I prefer, honestly, and because I just like old school wrestling in a lot of ways. So I deal with some of the modern things and I'll watch them, but it's just I have my preferences. So, I mean, I'll watch anything. I went to New Japan the night before I went to NWA 76.
Yeah, and different strokes for different folks, and to take it, a couple minutes back, I think that's why we're building momentum. We're providing something different. Yes, we do have some, outlandish characters and whatnot sometimes that are very entertaining, but the core of what we do and what we are is old school throwback wrestling, which um, to me is easily digestible. I think, the average person, like our wrestling is what the average person would think wrestling is, and I think it's easy for the average person to catch on and figure out what's going on and cheer a good guy and boo a bad guy.
Yeah, I know that even some of the outlandish characters are throwbacks, like Austin Idol.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
It was a thrill for me to meet him and get to talk to him at NWA 76 in Philly before the show. And I've just heard that he has great stories. And this is just another plea for him to come on the podcast one day, which he said he is going to. We need to just work it out. So, not begging, just would really love to have him on to hear some of his stories.
Oh, absolutely. And it's like we have the past, present, and future of wrestling in the NWA.
I just think the generational thing is big too, because you have Colby Carino, you have the Mortons, and you have the Kazanas.
Yeah, multiple multi-generation people, and they're learning from people who were successful. Their parents were successful and passed it down to them, and they're not carbon copies of their parents, but they learned a lot from their parents, and they're using it to, be the best that they could be.
And I think from what I've seen at Game Changer events and also at NWA, that I really wasn't expecting, because I'd met him before, I really wasn't expecting Kerry Morton to evolve into such a great heel.
Yeah, no, he always, did a good job as the white meat baby face, but he's a good bad guy.
And his dad is too, so from what I've seen lately.
Yeah, yeah,
Because I remarked to a friend of mine who's a writer, who's a wrestling writer, who's been doing it for probably 30 years or more, that I never thought I would see Ricky Morton doing such a great job as a heel as I did recently when I was watching an episode of Power.
yeah. No, he's good at anything he does, and you know.
How do you balance your wrestling career with your personal life?
Um, it's kind of tough. I mean, I kind of prioritize my wrestling career and just kind of fit anything in after. I don't go out a lot or whatever. If I do quote unquote go out, it's just to like get a pizza or something, or go out to dinner with my wife, or a friend or something like that. But I'm focus on wrestling. Um, my downtime. My favorite hobbies are, once I'm not doing anything wrestling related, whether it's going to the gym, traveling, studying, is eating and taking and sleeping.
What's your favorite dinner besides pizza?
Some kind of chicken, whether it's tenders, wings, boneless wings. Um, Big chicken guy.
My almost 12-year-old would be a big fan of that.
Yeah, no, I got so big, like I don't eat a wide variety of food. I just eat a lot of what I do like.
And what's something fans don't know about you that they might find interesting?
I actually have a master's degree in social work.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the second degree related fact that I've heard in interviews recently.
Yeah, no, you would never expect that. Like, you were at a loss for words when I told you. You're like, wait, what? This guy?
I was, honestly. And I was a little surprised when Adriana told me on the last episode that I recorded this been published that she has a PhD.
Oh, wow, I had no idea.
She has a PhD in psychology.
Yeah, no, it helps you, to show that you could do something else. It's good to have something to fall back on if wrestling doesn't work out or doesn't work out as much as you want it to work out, or if, you know, one of these days wrestling ends. So it's like, you know, it's always good to have something to make you marketable before, during, and after wrestling.
Actually, I'll admit the airline I worked for. Now I worked for Southwest, which was a great place to work. It just wasn't physically something that I wanted to do long term. And working on the ramp, and from what I've heard from people who worked there, and I even told some of the people that worked there here in Baltimore that didn't know it because a friend of mine knew it at another airport. That Dr. Death Steve Williams worked for Southwest after his wrestling career was over because the insurance was so good.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
Just a reminder for everyone that they can find tickets online for the NWA on tour in Queens, New York on September 27th and Huntington Station on September 28th. I mean, that's Huntington Station on September 28th, and they can find those tickets at nwaliveevents.com.
Same thing for the NWA power tapings, October 5th and 6th, NWALiveEvents.com. Same thing for Samhain, October 26th in Sarasota, NWA Live Events. Don't forget to check out the website, nationalwrestlingalliance.com, with almost daily updates. Check me out on Twitter at WreckingBall75 or Instagram, Wrecking_Ball_Legursky. And you could check out my, it's kind of like Pro Wrestling Tees, but he does it better. Check out angrylemonade.net for fixers and Wrecking Ball Legursky merchandise.
I think I've seen that site before. I know I've tried to stand my merch up in the last week or two, and it's been interesting because I'm trying to do something where I don't actually deal with inventory and fulfillment, so it's fun.
Yeah, hit up Angry Lemonade. I contact him through Instagram. He does a good job of, setting up a marketplace, and he makes the shirts to order.
I'll check them out, and I was going to ask you about your socials for my next question, so that takes care of that.
Yeah, I read your mind.
Thanks for the interview, and I look forward to seeing you in future NWA events.
All right, thank you very much. Yep, and again, check out my store, angrylemonade.net. Look up the Fixers or Wrecking Ball Legursky. Twitter at WreckingBall75. Instagram, Wrecking_Ball_Legursky, Legursky.
Thanks again for joining us on Belts, Bumps, and Barbed Wire. Please join us for our next great episode wherever you get your podcasts. Now for our credits. Host is Jeff Quinton. That's me. Production assistant is Josie Quinton. Producer is Scott English. If you'll please check out DMVWrestlingNews.com every day to get the latest pro wrestling news from the Mid-Atlantic region and beyond, we'd appreciate it. Thanks again.